talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? Welcome to the FightersRep video podcast, aka the Keep It Clean podcast, where we root out corruption in combat sports. I'm your host, the FightersRep, and today I wanted to talk about UFC robberies and their source. Big shout out to RGNs and the Granite, Bobby Nizzo in the chat. What's poppin', brother? So today we're talking about UFC robberies and their source, and we're just going to get right into it. I'm going to take you guys right to the source of the problems with not only UFC judging, but the problems with the judging in all combat sport. And for me, the source is, in a nutshell, is the subjective nature of human beings and their interpretation of the following. Actually, that's not it right there. Here, let me show it to you here. Here it is. This is the Association of Boxing Commissions Combative Sports Unified Rules of Mixed Martial Arts. And you might be saying to yourself, George, or rather FightersRep, why you got us looking at this thing? Why do you have us even looking at this thing? Well, the reason I got you guys looking at this thing is because this is the rule set that the majority of athletic commissions are subscribing to at this point. This is where the 10-point must system comes from. And it's interesting because it comes from the Association of Boxing Commissions. You would think, here it is, Association of Boxing Commissions. You would think that it would come from maybe an MMA, some sort of MMA body or MMA source, but it's the Association of Boxing Commissions that has laid out this rule set and the 10-point must system. And I want to get right to it and explain to you guys what judges are looking at when they score a fight. So here we go. So first things first. This is what we're going to look at first. This tells you about the scoring system. And as of 2017, the unified rules. And here they are. This is the initial language and some of the most important language, I think, in this entire document. It says, effective striking and grappling shall be considered the first priority of round assessments. Now check this out. This is something a lot of people don't understand. It says effective aggressiveness is plan B and should not be considered unless the judge does not see any advantage in the effective striking grappling realm. So effective aggressiveness is not even to be considered, right? It's not even to be considered unless the judge doesn't see that one of the fighters had an effective striking or grappling advantage. And that's something, again, that a lot of people struggle with. And then look at this. Look at this. It goes on. And it says cage and ring control is plan C and should only be needed when all other criteria are 100% even for both competitors. This will be an extremely rare occurrence. So what are they saying here? Let's unpack this real quick for you guys. So what they're saying is effective striking and grappling is what we look at. And if that is even, then we look at effective aggressiveness as our plan B to determine who it is that's winning the round. Now, if that is also even, we hit up plan C, which is cage and ring control. And notice they're saying cage/ring. So this is applying to combat sports in the ring as well. This has a strong application in all combat sports, boxing, kickboxing, whatever. And they're saying that cage and ring control is only considered when needed after the effective striking and grappling is even. So they can't look at that because it's even. And the effective aggressiveness is even. Only then do they look at cage and ring control. That's very weird, right? You guys already, just by reading that, it should seem weird to you guys, because what's the difference between effective aggressiveness and cage control? It's, and you're asking lay people, people that, look, I'm an attorney and I can hardly decipher this damn thing. And you're asking people, coming off the street, signing up to be a part of a commission to understand these rules and apply them. RGN's in the Granite says, why is there a boxing commission in the North, or why isn't there a boxing commission in the Northeast? There's a boxing commission. Here's the thing. Depending on what state the event is taking place, it's typically that state's commission that is running the show. Now, sometimes each state has its own rule set, but now almost every state has prescribed or subscribed, however you want to put it, to the unified rules of MMA as proposed by the ABC that I'm showing you guys now. So, most of the country is now trying to utilize this rule set, this unified rule set. And, they want to do that because they want to make everything uniform. They don't want guys fighting, 10 different, 20 different rule sets of MMA, right? They want it to be consistent. That I understand. But when we're looking at crazy decisions like the ones we saw with Marlon Vera losing, to Song Yadong, when we're looking at the Angela Hill fight and the Barbosa fight, we're saying to ourselves, what the hell happened? What are these judges looking at? I feel like by showing you guys this thing, sorry about that, by showing you guys this thing, it'll give you guys more of an understanding of what the officials are looking at. So again, they're looking at effective striking and grappling. Only if those are completely even, do they go to Plan B and look at effective aggressiveness. So effective aggressiveness doesn't mean shit. And neither does cage and ring control. It doesn't mean shit unless effective striking and grappling is completely even. Only then. Keep this in mind, knuckleheads. This is your boy George, the attorney, trying to break down the reading comprehension here for you guys. Only then can you look at effective aggressiveness, and only if effective aggressiveness is completely even can you go on to look at cage and ring control, which to me is very similar to effective aggressiveness, right? If you're aggressive and it's effective and you're chasing the guy down, typically you're in control of the ring, right? I don't know. Maybe there's a situation where that's not the case, but it just seems very odd to me. So now let's take a look at the prioritized criteria. So basically now they break, excuse me. They break this part down now in more detail. And as you know, it's Plan A is they look at effective striking and grappling. Plan B, they look at effective aggressiveness. And Plan C, they look at cage and ring control. So now they're telling you what each tier means in more specific detail. So they start with effective striking and grappling. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this video, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. Join Knucklehead Nation. Get your shirts, your Fighters Rep shirts in the link below. So this part here, the prioritized criteria, is basically giving you more detail and adding, breaking down this part here, right? So now they're going into more detail to tell you, what the hell they're talking about, because it is a bit of a mystery, for people that have just read that paragraph. Really, what's the difference between effective aggressiveness and ring control? It's kind of weird. So here we go. Let's take a look. They prioritize the criteria. in order of importance, of course. So the most important thing, like they said in the paragraph up top, is effective striking and grappling. It says legal blows that have immediate or cumulative impact with the potential to contribute towards the end of the match, with the immediate weighing in more heavily than the cumulative impact. So what are they saying there? They're saying that the immediate shots that could potentially contribute towards the end of the fight are going to be weighed more when with regards to the scoring than the cumulative shots. And that makes sense because, cumulative means, you're getting touched, you're getting touched. Immediate might be a big shot, So I think that makes sense there. And I'm okay. I'm sort of following them there, right? Then they go on. Successful execution of takedowns, submission attempts, reversals, and the achievement of advantageous positions that produce immediate or cumulative impact with the potential to contribute to the end of the match, with the immediate weighing more heavily than the cumulative impact. Now they're talking about grappling. This is what they mean by effective grappling. And again, the stuff that can more immediately affect the end of the match is going to be, scored higher, which again, it makes sense, but look at the way they're putting this. I mean, this is really, this is not the easiest read, You give this to a regular guy off the street, it's not the easiest read. They go on to say, it shall be noted that a successful takedown is not merely changing of position, but the establishment of an attack from the use of the takedown. See, this is incredibly interesting because now they're bringing in the term successful. Now they're bringing in the term successful, and they're saying that it shall be noted that a successful takedown is not merely a changing of position, but the establishment of attack from the use of the takedown. So if you take somebody down, I believe what they're saying here in this very complicated sentences, and it's complicated because when you take the whole thing into consideration, it's complex. So I believe what they're saying is, if you take somebody down and you don't establish an attack from that takedown, it's not successful. So does that mean that if you take somebody down, or if you take somebody down, you don't land some shots, that it doesn't count? That's definitely an interpretation, and that's why a lot of the time you hear guys say, or broadcasters say, well, he took him down, he didn't do any damage. Now, here's another interesting thing for you guys. I think you guys will enjoy this. Top and bottom position fighters are assessed more on the impactful, effective result of their actions more so than their position. Now, one important thing that I take from this sentence is that it doesn't matter, or it shouldn't matter, if you're on the top or on the bottom. What matters is the impactful and effective result of your actions. Now, what's the first thing that pops into your head when you think about that? Excuse me. The first thing that pops into my head when I think about that is Tony Ferguson. That's who pops into my head, because I keep thinking about guys taking Ferguson down and him just elbowing from the bottom. Him just elbowing the shit out of people from the bottom. Bang, bang. He's elbowing them. He's hitting them at the top of the head. He's hitting them on the side of the head with elbows. That's what I'm thinking about. So what they're saying here is, I could be on top, but if I'm getting my shit smashed up by the guy underneath me, then that guy should be receiving more credit, right? That guy should be receiving more credit. For me, that makes sense, but I'm not sure everybody understands that, and I think a lot of even hardcore fans, like the ones we have on this page, are going to read this and really gather something from it. And that's why I'm presenting this to you guys, because it's valuable information. Knowledge is power. When you know what the hell you're talking about, you cannot be fucked with. So let's continue. It says this criterion will be the deciding factor in a high majority of decisions when scoring a round. The next two criteria must be treated as a backup and used only, look how they emphasize only in all caps, when effective striking and grappling is 100% equal for the round. So what did we gather from this, knuckleheads? We gathered that the most important things that the judges are supposed to look at are effective striking and grappling. And effectiveness is essentially determined by the potential to contribute towards the end of the match. That's what it is. If the shot or if the takedown, the grappling, has potential to contribute towards the end of the match, then that is the biggest thing you can do in a fight to score yourself some points, apparently, right? Only then, only if those things are equal, if the two guys have fought and in the judge's mind it's a stalemate, they've both landed the same level of effective striking, they've both done the same level of effective grappling, only if they're exactly at the same level in the judge's mind, do we go to the next criteria. Don't forget that. Only then we go to effective aggressiveness, right? And my goodness, I mean, that's really confusing because here's the thing. I mean, are you telling me that the guy who's walking forward throughout the fight and landing shots at the same rate as the guy that's walking backwards, you know, the guy that's walking forward at the same, you know, he's walking forward, he's landing shots at the same rate as the guy walking backwards, you know, his aggressiveness cannot even be considered unless they're otherwise equal. So, I mean, that's what's happening here. And that's, you know, that's a bit weird. You know, I think a lot of people kind of lump, you know, when they're watching a fight, they kind of lump all these things together. They're looking at aggression as well as strikes, as well as fighting area control, which will be the third criteria. But, you know, these rules are telling you got to kind of break it down and look at it separately. And, you know, this is important stuff to know if you're a fight fan, you know. So let's take a look at it. Effective aggressiveness. Let's see what it is. What is effective aggressiveness? Let's see what it is. Aggressively, this is what it is. Aggressively making attempts to finish the fight. The key term is effective. Chasing after an opponent with no effective result or impact should not render in the judge's assessments. Effective aggressiveness is only to be assessed if effective striking, grappling is 100% equal for both competitors. So that, you know, to me, it makes sense. What they're saying here is, if the guys are otherwise equal, one guy is pushing the action, trying to finish the fight, that's the guy who should get the nod. That's the guy who should get the nod. It should be about just points or punches landed. And we got a call coming in from Dan Bam Bam Stell. Ladies and gentlemen, world famous referee Dan Bam Bam Stell, who's also a former kickboxer, 17-0, 15 knockouts. What is going on, brother?
How you doing, George?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Bam?
Great, thank you. I just was listening to the podcast here. Just thought I'd throw some stuff in there to clear clarify some stuff there for you.
I love it, man. You know, I actually wanted to get you on this episode. I'm really glad you called in.
Okay.
So it seems a little strange to me, Bam, that a lot of people, they kind of lump all these things together. But from these rules, it looks like you have to consider one thing and then only consider the other thing if, you know, the grappling and effective striking is even. I mean, what's your kind of experience on this, being a referee that trains referees and does the like?
Well, your effective striking and grappling is your number one thing, of course, because you start your fight standing up.
Right.
Your striking and everything. What they're calling effective is your punches and kicks landed in the legal areas to strike and kick and punch and all that stuff. But you're also looking at causing damage. What's causing the damage?
Right.
And then when you get all that equal, then you go into the other stuff of the portion of the pie. But with striking and everything and grappling, there's so much stuff in there that you can utilize before you can go to that stuff. Because maybe your hands are equal thrown, but what if one guy lands a couple more kicks, harder kicks than the other guy? Then that's going to outweigh the guy that's equal with the hands. The guy that throws the harder kicks is going to land harder.
Right.
If they're equal to hands and kicks, maybe the guy throws some knees and elbows in there that are more effective. That leans towards that fighter because they're close in their, in the range of the fight. Then the knees and elbows will take the effectiveness. What they call effective aggressiveness is when someone just comes forward and marches forward. That doesn't mean he's effectively doing that. Well, he's pushing the fight. He's coming forward. But yeah, he could eat several punches and kicks coming forward. You can't misjudge a guy that's going to be a lateral mover and it can still strike you and score points, kicking and punching you.
Bam, one thing I wanted to ask you, and it's back to the first criteria, and I'm going to pull it up here so everybody can see it. It looks like, and by the way, if you guys don't know, Dan Bam Bam Stell, again, 17-0 professional kickboxer, now retired. He's a referee. He's got his own company out here in California where he trains referees and judges. Dan Bam Bam Stell referees the FightersRep fights. He's the co-founder of the IKF. This guy is big time in the fight game. Recently he even refereed a boxing match between Artur Beterbiev, a guy who's definitely one of my favorites. So, we've got a lot of experience on the line right now, and I'm glad you called in, Bam. But the question I had for you, Bam, and I'm going to pull it up here, is, so this thing says in the effective striking and grappling criteria, it says that it shall be noted that a successful takedown is not merely changing position, but the establishment of attack from the use of a takedown. So is what they're saying there that I could take a guy down, right? I could take a guy down, but I don't get any points for it unless I hit him afterwards?
You have to take him down, and then you got to advance to a movement to more of a striking or something to submit the person. If you just take him down to lay down and the guy escapes from it, it washes itself out. But the takedown can go towards, I would say, if it's a close fight, stand-up wise, grappling and striking wise, the takedown's gonna add to that person's side, of course.
Yeah, okay.
Because he took him down. But there's always things. There's a criteria you have to look at when you judge a fight.
For sure. And then another thing that happens a lot, Bam, is so one fight that comes to mind is the fight between Alistair Overeem the other night and Walt Harris, where Walt Harris kind of in the middle of the round, in the first round, landed a big shot, dropped Overeem, came close to finishing the fight. Then Overeem comes back, right? He comes back, he puts Walt Harris in a position on the floor and just starts kind of hitting him over and over again in the side of the head. Walt Harris is sort of helpless on the ground. That situation, who do you give that sort of round to? I know it's a hard question to answer because maybe you didn't see it. But, in that situation, is it a 10-10 round? Does the guy who landed the one big shot get more credit than the guy that landed a bunch of little shots near the end and had the guy in the compromised position? How does that work?
No, one shot will not win a fight or a round unless you knock him down in boxing. in MMA, one hard shot is not going to win a round for you. I mean, you got to look at quality versus quantity. I mean, the quality shot may have landed hard, but did it stop him or do enough damage for him coming back and landing several shots on you? And then I believe in that fight, he was the guy was postured face down, and Overeem was landing several punches on the side of his head. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's what was happening.
You know, in that position, if he's not even trying to attempt to escape from that area or even get out of that portion, if you're landing maybe 30 or 40, 50 punches without no answer, you know, as a referee, the best thing to do is just step in and stop the fight.
Got you. And then, Bam, another question I had for you, and I'm glad you're here. We're going to move on to the third criteria that they're supposed to look at when scoring the fight is fighting area control. And it says the following. It says fighting area control is assessed by determining who is dictating the pace, place, and position of the match. Fighting area control shall only be assessed if effective striking, grappling, and effective aggressiveness is 100% equal. This will be assessed very rarely. So, I mean, why not just lump fighting area control into effective aggressiveness? Because, I mean, wouldn't it be very similar, dictating the pace and the place and the position to being the effective aggressor?
I would call it the same. I mean, to have ring control and everything is using your tactics and your ability to take the other person out of his fight game, to frustrate him. And when you got ring control like that, of course you're going to be the more aggressor. You're going to be landing the punches and kicks and the takedowns or whatever. I mean, you could tell a person that's going to have ring control over someone, as in boxing, like as Mayweather would have over, someone fighting. His appearance in the ring, his style in the ring. I mean, he's not always effective going forward. He's effective going backwards.
Right.
He's effective going sideways. In his movement, he's hitting you at every direction. And that's what I'm saying. When you come forward, you got to be effective doing it and landing punches and kicks, effective punches and kicks, causing damage.
Now, Bam, the Mayweather style, for those that don't know you, wasn't exactly your style. I mean, my understanding of the Dan Bam Bam style fighting was you used to come forward and go for the kill. Am I right?
Straightforward, hitting whatever's in front of me.
I love it, man. I love it. And Bam, just so people know, you have obviously a fantastic company where you train people to become referees and judges, and having worked with you now for over a year, definitely I would recommend people to learn from you, and I'm going to expand on that in a bit. But Bam, kind of tell the people in the chat, the people listening, the name of the company, how they can get in touch with you, what they can do to be a part of the commission if they wanted to.
It's Stellar Universal. Stellar Universal, you call it Universal because you can use the judging and style in other fight styles. But I'm mainly a stand-up striking person. I did MMA. I refereed and judged it. But, I'm more preferring boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, stuff like that. But, we as the IKF, we handle all the amateur fights in the state of California. I train all the officials that go through the IKF with that. And, a lot of these officials that train people are charging them X amount of dollars, but, you're a contracted worker. You got to go out and find work. When I train you here in the state of California for amateurs, we're guaranteeing you work because we put you through a training system. I'm there walking you hand hand in hand, walking you through the course with the training. Then we put you in, and then you work. Different fights. You work so many fights. We go between maybe 5 to 6 fights. Then when we see how you work, then we put you in, and then you start getting paid. This way, you get paid back what you paid into the getting trained. If you want to look it up, it's stellar-universal.com.
I love it. And, one of the reasons I really recommend reaching out to Bam and doing this, if you guys want to learn how to become a referee, especially in the state of California. I mean, Bam, could you help people outside of the state, or is this something that would only go down in California?
Oh, yes. I got officials I trained in Mexico. I got officials I trained back east in South Carolina, North Carolina,
Gotcha.
Georgia, and Arizona.
The reason
I trained Idaho.
Well, the reason I recommend Bam strongly is because, having worked with you for over a year now, Bam, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, man. I've never been in a situation where I thought the fight was stopped late. Every single Fighters Rep fight where you've been involved in, I'm not saying that you may never make a mistake, but in Fighters Rep, you've never made a mistake. I've found every single stoppage that you've ever made to be exactly on point. And I appreciate that, man. And we're talking about what we're talking about now. And I actually called you about this. We're talking about it because of what we saw at the UFC, not only with bad decisions last week, but also with Glover Teixeira being allowed to absolutely mangle Anthony Smith for 3 rounds in a row, Bam. Again, broken nose, broken orbital bone, 2 missing teeth. I'm hearing he might need dental surgery as well. His teeth were knocked in, and I don't know what the hell happened there. And I was telling everybody that joined us for that chat that when he got hit in his nose and he grabbed his nose and was kind of turning to the side and backing off, I've seen stuff similar to that at the Fighters Rep events, and you always jump in and stop it when that happens. You don't allow fighters to turn their back or even come close to doing so in front of an opponent. Am I right? That's a telltale sign.
Absolutely. To me, a fighter that turns his back to another fighter like that and goes to the ropes or the cage, to me, he's looking for a doorknob. He's looking for a door to get out of that place. He's hurt. And, there's 3 things the referee's there to save a fighter from. And the 3 things are his opponent, his cornerman, and most importantly, himself. That's the last thing a fighter would want to do is just quit. But you're there to do a job, and you should never treat a 3-round fight no different than a 12-round world title fight in boxing or a 5-round title fight in MMA or anything. Every fight should be for the safety of the fighter.
100%, man. Much appreciated, Bam. And, we had a string of horrible decisions. That's another reason I decided to make this video, let people look at what the rules are for scoring. Bam, one more thing before I let you go. Is the IKF scoring criteria the same as the ABC's scoring criteria?
Basically, yes.
Okay, gotcha. So knuckleheads, again, this will all apply. What I'm reading to you guys will all apply whether, the event is using the ABC rules or the IKF rules, which is the pro rule set that we use. Bam, man, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you for calling in, bro.
No problem, George. Thank you, brother.
All right, man. We'll see you. So that's Bam, Dan Bam Stell. He listens in all the time, man. Just so you guys know, man, that's like the realest, coolest person I've met in the fight game. Man, he does such a great job. He goes as far as, to check the ring and the ropes and make sure everything. I guess that's their job, but, he does it He does it very meticulously. And I've seen the best stoppages that I've ever seen, if there's such a thing. But I've seen the best stoppages I've ever seen at some of the Fighters Rep events where Bam was officiating. Not everybody would agree. Obviously, when there are coaches and egos and stuff involved, they want their guy to keep going sometimes. But, me as a promoter, I don't want anybody to die in there or get seriously hurt. I especially don't like a fight to go on, to continue when one guy's getting pummeled. I really don't like that, especially if a guy's getting pummeled round after round after round and the chances of him coming back to win are nil. That's when I like to see a referee jump in there and stop a fight. I talked about that in the Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Weili Zhang fight. I thought that fight went maybe a round and a half, 2 rounds too long. I definitely thought the Glover Teixeira fight went at least 2 rounds too long. So I really appreciate guys like Bam, man. Guys like Bam, Bam does this shit for the love of the sport like we do. He's got integrity. He's got empathy. He's a fighter. He doesn't want these guys to get destroyed. He wants them to come back and create a career and earn a living. And, Steve Folsom at the IKF, him as well. I mean, they're the same. They care about the fighters. They're very strict about their rules. And that's something that I appreciate because, it's going to keep these guys safe. So, I'm glad, I'm really glad he called in. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Before I go into the chat, though, where ARC7X Angel and RGN and Jamaican and Kevin from Chicago are at, big shout out to you guys. Before I go in there, again, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. Join Knucklehead Nation. Okay, giving you guys, the insider information, or at least the knowledge that you need to make a good argument when people say this guy got ripped off or that guy got ripped off. Giving you that information. Also, get you a Fighters Rep shirt in the link below. It'll help us continue to build the promotion. All proceeds get reinvested right back into the promotion. Also, you can donate to the Super Chat. And finally, we do still have our fundraiser going to save the fight gyms in Southern California. 100% of that is going to the fight gyms that, unfortunately, due to this, despite this quarantine and despite the bailouts, they were not bailed out. And these gyms where all these fighters come from are small businesses, and they're not being bailed out. And they're not going to be able to stay in business unless guys like us step the hell up and throw some money their way and keep them alive and keep paying our membership, which is the responsible thing to do. I know it's hard. Some of us lost our job or whatever, but, we're not going to have anywhere to relieve our stress and work out if we don't pay for some of these fight gyms. So definitely pay your membership. Help us in the link below with the fundraiser. It'll take you to the Facebook page. If you click it, you could donate $1, $5. Anything helps. Anything helps. But anyway, let's see what's going on here. We got a lot in the chat here. ARC7X Angel says, there's pure incompetence when you have 3 out of 4 fights in a row be clear-cut robberies. Absolutely. Absolute incompetence. But, you read these rules and you see how subjective it is. And, you need somebody who understands what they're looking at. A guy like Bam to kind of mentor you when you're an official, to know what you're looking at and make the right decision. And unfortunately, we don't have that. The language in these rules is not easy language to read for everybody. RGN's in the Granite says, that blows my mind. Kind of catch-22, hypocritical rules. Whoa. Definitely Saturday's fights, horrible decisions. I think these rules are made to protect all the refs, all the judges. Corrupt like Shifty Shift, Pencil Neck Shift. LOL, unreal. These are so fucked up rules for judges. They were definitely trying to be sick when they came up with these. Poor Tony, one of my favorites. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding, walking forward, throwing bombs means nothing. Jamaican says, salute to the chat. Salute to you, Jamaican. Another salute from RGN. Salute to you, my brother. That's Bobby Nizzle, the OG. Shouting out Bam and his 17-0 record. And then Kevin from Chicago saying, what's up, brother? What's up with you, Kevin? RGN says, someone's throwing more punches than me and hitting me more, but I'm throwing less and going forward and hurting them more with less punches. Don't mean nothing. I think the effectiveness of your punches will count more than him hitting you with more punches. And I think, if anything, that's also a huge takeaway for fight fans with today's breakdown. And that takeaway is effective striking, effective grappling. That's what matters, knuckleheads. That's what matters. You know, if I hit a guy 10 times and he walks through them, but he hits me, he clocks me one time and sends me reeling, I do believe that shot probably should count, probably should count more because it's more effective. And by effective, it's got more of a potential to contribute to the end of the fight. So, that's pretty interesting because, I mean, I think there is a point where the guy landing the more shots should get more credit than the guy landing that one or two harder shots, but that's something that's left to the judge's subjectivity, and I think that's why it's difficult to score these fights. Now, on the other hand, I don't think that these rules are so crazy and so out of whack that we should be having the decisions that we're having, especially the ones that we had in UFC Jacksonville. And I'll touch on that in a second, but I'm going to read the rest of what you guys are saying in here. RGN says, bam, thank you again. Kevin from Chicago says, bam, bam, thank you, man. RGN says, what the F? Poor kid, dental sucks. Yeah, man, Anthony Lionheart Smith got his teeth destroyed. Jamaican says, Anthony, my dentures are falling out, Smith. RGN, salute and bless up. Jamaican, same to you, brother. Raw Dog's in here. What's up, Raw Dog? Hit that subscribe, the bell notification icon if you haven't already. He says, Smith could have quit. Corner could have stopped it. Ref could have called it. There should have been no reason a fighter takes unnecessary punishment. I couldn't agree more with you, Raw Dog. I could not agree more with you, brother. I mean, there were so many things in place to prevent this thing from going where it went. There were so many things in place to prevent this from happening, and it just did not happen. It did not happen. And it was like a perfect storm, right? And that sort of has a positive connotation sometimes, but in this situation, it's a negative connotation. It's a perfect storm from hell, right? Because the guy's not going to quit, but you can't expect the fighter to quit, especially a real dude like Anthony Smith. So he's not going to quit. You do expect the corner to jump in. You do expect the referee to stop the fight, and I think that's where we had the failure. I think more so I blame the corner than the referee because they've got that emotional attachment to the guy. And you want to see the guy continue to fight if he's your guy. You want to see him continue to make money and be able to provide for his family. But how is this guy going to provide for his family now when his, orbital bone is destroyed, his nose is destroyed, his mouth is destroyed? I mean, the guy was disfigured. Let's be honest now. I mean, this is a demented, fucked up thing to say. But the guy was maimed in there. The guy was mangled in there, and I understand. Look, I understand. And this is where, and I said I wanted to touch on this in a little bit, right? This is where the little bit of, I think, corruption and the A side versus B side bullshit of combat sports starts to rear its ugly head because Anthony Smith is the favorite. Anthony Smith is the favorite. He's the young guy coming up. Glover Teixeira is old news. So maybe they're letting this guy carry on because they've got that in their head. This is the next, young phenom. Let's give him as many opportunities as possible to get back and beat this old man. And that old man gave the combat sports establishment the biggest middle finger that it's ever seen in its life. Also, I said I was going to touch on this. Those bad decisions that we had the other night, specifically the Marlon Vera decision, and I was thinking of getting Marlon Vera on here because like I said before, Chris Cross is a fighter. He's a pro fighter, and he's also our broadcaster. And guess what? He's Marlon Vera's teammate at Team Oyama. We've also got Colin Oyama, who's, also a friend of the show. He's, just yesterday commented, or day before commented on my Facebook page. Colin Oyama, of course, being the head of Team Oyama, the coach for Marlon Vera. I was thinking of getting him on here, but here's the thing. It's a sticky situation with this corruption. I don't want to call these guys on the show, right, and have them start outing the corruption and talking shit and lose opportunities, So I'm not going to put them in that position unless they want to be in that position and they reach out to me in certain situations. Sometimes I'll reach out, but I didn't want to do that this time because Colin was out there all week last week. He had Ricky Simone fight. He had Marlon Vera fight. He had Carla Esparza fight. He had 3 fighters compete last week. And I don't want to put him in a situation where he says something that maybe pisses off the wrong people at the UFC. Although, I'm sure he's not afraid to express himself and his disdain for those decisions. But instead of doing that, we're going to do that. That's what this damn chat is for, right? That's what we're here for. That's what Knucklehead Nation's here is for, to call out this BS. And the point I'm getting to is Marlon Vera is a 27-year-old guy, who has some marketability, but he's from Ecuador. He's from Ecuador, and he doesn't have the same marketability, perhaps, in the minds of the judges. And this is what I'm thinking. I could be wrong. But he's not going to have the same marketability as a guy in Song Yadong from China, where there's over 1 billion people that the UFC can tap into, who's also 22 years old, who's also training at Uriah Faber with Uriah Faber, at Uriah Faber's gym with Uriah Faber. That's a baby face. That's a baby face. And I'm not saying that Marlon Vera is a heel. But, to use wrestling terms, if you're going to pick a baby face and a heel in that fight, if you're going to pick a guy that the officials and the referees or whoever are going to coddle up to, okay, it's not going to be Marlon Vera, even though he deserved that win. You see, he deserved that win, in my opinion. And I think it's bullshit that Song Yadong got that decision. And I think Song Yadong's associations with Uriah Faber and also with China enabled him to pick up a victory that he otherwise didn't seem to deserve. And I wouldn't even bring this up, and I won't bring this up with regards to Angela Hill and with regards to the Ige Barbosa fight, because those fights were really close. But I felt in my heart of hearts that the Marlon Vera fight wasn't that close. I mean, I thought we had a win for Vera on that one. And I'm not being bitter, right? I mean, I picked Vera to win, but I could be making this argument if I was bitter with regards to Ige, or a similar argument. I picked Ige to win. But after watching the fight, I would have given it to Barbosa. Ige won, but I mean, I thought it was a close enough fight to where you could say, fuck it, Ige won. That's fine. Somebody could see it that way. But the Marlon Vera fight wasn't the same. It wasn't the same, and that's why I wanted to bring that up. RGN's in the Granite says, "Good man, Bam. Nice call, George. Thank you, Bobby Nizzo. Bam is the kind of guy that'll be right up your alley, OG. I mean, Bam is a real OG in this game. He's no fucking nonsense. I love the guy. If you're late to weigh-ins, he's getting in your ass. I mean, the guy is a disciplined. You could tell this guy's a fighter, and the most polite, respectful person in the universe. But he's not going to take shit from anybody. And that's why I love working with him and the IKF. Jamaican says, no matter what, MMA stoppages are still better than boxing. Boxing, you get told to stand up after getting concussed. That's how people die. Effective aggression scores more than volume, I think. Well, you see, Jamaican, but from what we just read to you, what Bam said, effective aggression doesn't score more than volume. Because when you're saying volume, you're talking about shots landed. So that's effective striking, and that's going to be worth more than effective aggression. In fact, effective aggression is not even going to be considered unless the effective striking and grappling is completely even. Big shout out to our brother Arc7X Angel with the $5 donation. Thank you so much, my brother. That's going to get reinvested right back into Fighters Rep Promotions, where we're going to continue to build our very own corrupt-free, badass kickboxing pro-am promotion. Well, we're building some of the best strikers in the world right here. So I appreciate you doing that. Much love to you, man. I really appreciate your generosity. Thank you on behalf of me and all the fighters that have competed for us. And definitely, I mean, if you can, I don't want to ask for too much, but get you a Fighters Rep shirt, man. Get something out of your donations, at some point. If you want to buy a shirt, it still makes us money, and it also allows you to represent and kind of feel like you're a part of this promotion. You're a part of, the culture that helped me build this promotion. I mean, that's what we're here for, is to talk about the fights, to call out the corruption, and to build a corruption-free striking promotion with, real OGs like Dan Bam Bam Stell and like our brother Bobby Nizzo in the chat. Let's see here. Effective aggression, takedowns, octagon control, hard punches landed are what the judges take into consideration. No, Jamaican, no. No. Again, I'm going to show you guys. Here it is. Here's the criteria. Effective striking and grappling shall be considered the first priority of round assessments. Effective aggressiveness is planned B and should not be considered. Look at this. Should not be considered unless the judge does not see any advantage in effective striking or grappling realm. So your aggressiveness is not to be considered unless the striking and grappling is totally even. Only then will they look at the effective aggressiveness. RGN's in the grandest says the corner agreed 120%. I appreciate that, Bobby Nizzo. I mean, look, Bobby, you get it, man. You get it, bro. Your boy's out there getting crushed. Your boy's out there in a fight getting crushed. Let's say you trained him. One of the homies getting crushed. I mean, you're just going to let him get destroyed? I mean, fighters have pride. Men have pride. Men have pride. But fighters especially got pride, and they're not gonna quit. You're gonna have to pull them out of there. So many times you hear people say they're too tough for their own good. They're too tough for their own good. You hear that all the time. These fighters, they're too tough for their own good. That's why they need referees. That's why they need good coaches, good people in their corner to throw in the towel for them when they will not quit. That happens all the time. Let me see here. Jamaica says maybe the ref had a bet. You never know. There are people too. We all need money, especially right now. RGN's in the Granite says Asian did not win that fight. Fact. Jamaican says China 1.5 billion, Ecuador 17 million. So Jamaican has taken that right out of the Khabib Nurmagomedov playbook when he said something very similar about Russia versus Ireland. RGN's in the Granite says respect, George. Respect to you, brother. Jamaican said that's down to interpretation, George. It is. It is down to interpretation. Listen, everything in life is down to interpretation. I mean, look, we have wars. We have wars where millions of people are wiped out based on interpretation. Whether it's interpretation of religious texts, whether it's interpretation of, laws, whatever. Right? But look, it's here. It's here and it cannot be denied. Effective aggressiveness, and I've got it highlighted for you guys. Effective aggressiveness is a plan B and should not be considered unless the judge does not see any advantage in the effective striking, grappling realm. I do think I do think that they should come up with a way to maybe make the rule set more concise so people more easily understand it, because I think this language, I mean, you guys have been in here with me, okay? And you guys were here for me to read the language, and I've showed you the language. And you know what? I'm going to throw the link. Let me get the link for you guys. I'm going to throw it in the chat so you guys could, so you guys can have access to it and check it out later on. I'm going to throw the link in the chat. Here it is. Well, bam! There it is. You guys have seen the language. It's not easy to follow. It's not easy to follow, man. And people involved in the fight game, typically, these are not people that are scholars. You know what I mean? And even the most educated of people will look at that and be like, what the hell does that even mean? You know what I mean? So this is why. This takes us back to the premise of this entire episode. This is the source of the robberies. This is the source of the bad decisions. When you take a rule set like that and you combine it with interests, marketability, where's the guy from? How many fans does he potentially have? Who's paying our salaries as officials, judges? There's a lot goes into this. This is a loaded situation, and I just want to give you guys the reality. And for those of you that don't understand, again, each state has a commission, sometimes more than one, but each state has a commission, and the person that hires the commission to score the bouts, okay, and I think in any other field, this might be considered a conflict of interest. But the person that hires the commission to score the bouts for the fights is the promoter. When I put a fight together as FightersRep Promotions, I pay the commission for the judges, for the referees, for the physicians, for the timekeeper. It's me. I'm paying their salary. I'm paying it. Not the state, not somebody else. I'm paying it. Now, the state may, in certain circumstances, give them something. I don't know, maybe, they pay them to do other things related to the bout. But typically, their salaries for the night, their fees, their hotel and food and travel and whatever, I'm supposed to pay that. I'm supposed to pay that stuff. They even give you a breakdown where it tells you like how many miles away they live, and you're paying a certain amount of, dollars or cents on the mile. And the promoter pays it, right? So it's the promoter paying state officials money to judge the promoter's fights. And even if the promoter is not directly telling these officials a lot of the time, and listen, I'm not saying these officials are crooked. Some of the nicest people and the people with the most integrity I've ever met are these officials, right? Especially guys like Bam. That guy's the man. But there are situations where you could see that there's that little bit of maybe pressure or nervousness on the part of an official, where they're like, damn, this guy, they're paying my salary, this promotion. They're trying to build up this guy. Do I give the fight to the opponent who deserved it? Or in a close fight, should I give it to the babyface? And then there are some promoters that are probably so crooked that they're just like, here, take this money. I want you to, I'm not saying that, listen, I'm not saying that I've seen that. I haven't seen it personally. I haven't. The commissions that I work with, I think are super professional. But I'm saying that's something that could happen. That's something that happens in sports, any sports. Football, baseball. People have been paid to throw a game. People have been paid to take a dive in boxing. This is the stuff. This is the stuff that happens. Let's see here. Jamaican says, wait, hold on. Okay, RGN's in the granite says, Wilder had pride. We all do. The man that threw in the towel. Wilder should watch his fights. Best amateur in New York. Empire Games 4 times. Yup. Mark Breland. RGN's in the granite says, question everything. I agree with that. Jamaica says, yeah, that's why I said I think those are what the judges look at. Despite the rules, it's corruption. But look at the way the fights are scored. Jamaica says, you want to make money? Become a passer or combat sports judge. Raw Dog says, Sage Northcutt had the look. He did have the look. But he messed up. Man. He made a mistake, I think. And I wish the best for him, man, because he suffered a brutal loss to Cosmo Alexander in ONE FC, where he got his whole face broken. So I feel bad for him, man. Muay Thai 23 says, Tyson Shannon. Dana wiped his ass with Northcutt. Tyson or Shannon. Yeah, a lot of people are now talking about Mike Tyson potentially fighting Shannon Briggs. I've also seen a lot of rumblings about Mike Tyson maybe fighting Evander Holyfield. You know, those are all fun fights. I'm down to watch either one of those. I'd love to just see Tyson in the ring again, man, whether he wins or loses. I would also love to see Shannon Briggs. He talks a whole lot of trash, and I love it. I also got mad respect for Evander Holyfield. He's always a good time. So, yeah, I'm down to watch all that stuff. And, you know, if it means those guys making a lot of money, as long as they don't get hurt, I'm good with it, man. I'm good with it. Sage Northcutt has the looks, no chin. You can't win if you get knocked out, no matter how corrupt the sport is. True that. Austin Allen says, thanks, Mr. White. Want a back rub, Mr. White. Sage. Austin, you're a ruthless man, brother. But Sage messed up, man. Sage messed up. You know, he should have probably stuck around, stayed in the UFC. I mean, ONE FC, I don't know. I mean, I guess they're supposed to be a big deal in Asia, but I haven't heard the best things about that company as far as the way they're spending their money. It looks like and it sounds like they're spending a lot of money, but I don't know. Either way, I wish them the best. You know, I hope they succeed. There's obviously a huge Asian market, and I hope they succeed and capitalize. Jamaican says, do you think Mike Tyson is going broke? Why would he come back? You know, I think he went broke, right? And that's confirmed. I do think he's been able to make money recently. He does have some businesses going on. I'm sure he gets paid well for his appearances or whatever. But who's going to say no to that many $1 million, for an exhibition boxing match? I mean, I would do it. So you think a guy like Tyson wouldn't do it? He would absolutely do it. So I don't know if he's broke. I wouldn't say he's broke. I don't think he's broke. But he's not going to say no to $20 million, $10 million, $5 million, $1 million. He's not going to say no to it. Austin Allen says it would be hilarious to see Tyson take on the champ, Shannon Briggs. That would be funny. Muay Thai 23 says, Sage after Cosmo knocked him out. Ouch, my face, Mr. Sage. Oh, yeah. That was not cool, man. I feel horrible for him after what Cosmo did to him. RGN's in the granite says, still corruption. Tyson is broke. Tyson Ranch in his podcast in Box My, and it's the first sport and always will be. Yeah, I don't think he's doing bad at all between the ranch and the podcast. Raw Dog says Tyson's not good with money. I don't think he's good with money, but I think he's better than what he was before, and I would imagine he's got some money. But anyway, Knuckleheads, I've been on an hour. Appreciate you guys being on here with me on the Keep It Clean podcast, where we keep that shit clean. And I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you guys. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Show some love. Give some engagement to the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon next to it. Join Knucklehead Nation. Get your FightersRep shirt. We just came out with a Knucklehead shirt that's got a funny little definition underneath. So you want to click the link below and check that out. Get you a shirt. Represent. Help me build these young fighters up. help me hit the ground running once this pandemic's up. And these fights, there'll be fights that you helped contribute to. So, I appreciate you guys being in here. Much love to you guys. And until Wednesday, which is the next time I'll likely see you guys, keep it clean. Austin Allen says, I respect how you want to help the gyms. I miss mine a lot. Everyone have a happy evening. Thank you, Austin. Appreciate you, brother. We've raised over $850. I'm going to try to get to 1,000. Have a good night, everyone.